Welcome back. Here are some random facts about politics. Hey, did you know that the teddy bear, the cuddly little animal that you keep in your bed as a child, it actually came from a former U.S. president, Theodore Roosevelt. In 1902, he refused to shoot a tied-up bear, a real-life bear, and a toy company decided to name the teddy bear in honor of him doing that. Hey, did you know that William Henry Harrison was the shortest U.S. presidential term ever served? It was in 1841, and it was for just 31 days. He gave a speech in the cold without wearing a coat, and 2 days later, he got pneumonia and died. Did you know that King Louis IX of France holds the record for the longest serving ruler or monarch? He was the ruler for 72 years and 110 days from 1643 to 1715. Theodore Roosevelt, Teddy Roosevelt, the one we talked about a minute ago, he actually became the youngest U.S. president to ever serve at just 42 years old after he took the presidential office after President McKinley's assassination in 1901. Hey, did you know in ancient Sparta, way back in the day, that the way you voted was by stomping or stamping your feet to give signs of approval or disapproval? That was the way they voted back then. The first televised U.S. presidential debate was in 1960 between Kennedy and Nixon, and it was shown how televising a presidential debate can have influence on perception and voters' opinions. Gerald Ford is the only U.S. president to have never been elected. After Nixon announced his resignation, Gerald Ford took the office of presidency after never being elected for vice president or president. He was appointed the president and assumed the responsibility. Hey, did you know that the left and right terms that we use in politics actually came from the French Revolution, where the supporters of the king would sit on the right and the revolutionaries would sit on the left? Who'd have thunk it? For someone who likes to talk like myself, this next point is super interesting. The former U.S. President Calvin Coolidge became known under the nickname Silent Cal because he was very reserved and quiet. And here's the most interesting part, and the saying that I appreciate the most. He once quoted and said, "I have never been hurt by what I have not said." That's probably good advice for me, but I like to talk. Did you know that the White House used to be called the Executive Mansion? It was actually renamed by, you guessed it, Theodore Roosevelt in 1901, but prior to that, it was called the Executive Mansion, not the White House. Hey, did you know that the country of New Zealand was the first country ever to grant women the right to vote? And that was in 1893. To this day, Richard Nixon remains the only U.S. former president to have resigned from office, and he did that in 1974 following the Watergate scandal. As you may know, the Vatican City is the smallest country in the world. There's only about 800 people that live there. However, the Vatican City people or citizens, including the Pope, normally do not vote. The cardinals of the Catholic Church elect the Pope. Hey, did you know that Lyndon B. Johnson was the only president ever to be sworn into office on an airplane? He was sworn in as president aboard Air Force One. And again, being the only time in history that the presidential oath was given aboard a plane. Get this, in Australia, voting is mandatory for all citizens over the age of 18, and failure to do so can result in a fine. John Tyler, the 10th president of the United States, was born in 1790. But incredibly, he still has living grandchildren. He had kids late in life, and then they had kids late in life, so his grandsons were born in the 1920s. We've all heard the name Winston Churchill. He was a former British Prime Minister, but did you know he was artistic? In his lifetime, he completed more than 500 paintings, and most of them were of the landscape variety. Did you know that since 1965, the Senate has always maintained a desk known as the Candy Desk? It is operated and maintained by a senator from Pennsylvania, and it is always filled with candy and supported by multiple candy companies. Candy sounds really good right now. James Madison, the fourth U.S. president and the one also known as the father of the Constitution, was the shortest president ever at just 5 foot 4 inches tall, and he also only weighed 100 pounds. Did you know that the Czech Republic has a Czech lovers beer party, and it was formed in the 1990s as a protest to the country's political system, just promoting beer and having fun? Weird yet interesting facts. I hope you have the best day. Take care.